Hello again YouTube, Mad Dog here. Welcome back to my channel. So this video is basically a quick look round how I build one of my fire kits. Stay tuned. Okay, so what I've got here on the bench is one of my fire kits. I do make them, all my kits, very similar in content. They vary slightly depending on how I intend to use them and where I intend to use them. So for example, if I'm going on a long hike, I'll basically do my fire kit to be more survival based, as in surefire and let's get the job done. I don't want any chances to be taken. If I'm going out into a known wooded area where I've got good points of contact regarding rescue should I need it, communication, etc., so I'm in a comfortable environment, then I'll take a mix of just in case survival go-to firelighting equipment and bushcraft type of firelighting equipment, to include, you know, flint and steel, hand drills, bow drills, that kind of thing, you know, the more traditional bushcraft style of firelighting. So I'm just going to crack this open now and show you around one of these little kits. I say little, they're not actually that little. My fire kits are quite substantial because, in my opinion, is one of the most important bits of kit that you can carry. So, you know, it's one of the 5 C's, the basics, so don't skimp and scrape on something that is massively important. As we all know, your fire, boiling water, cooking food, signalling, staying warm in cold climates, you know, a long fire, big fire for survival, small fire for cooking, like I say, signalling, sterilisation of tools, crafting tools, and my biggest point that I always like to emphasise is your initial fire is the way, or giving you the tools and the ability to make your next fire, which I always include something in my kit to do that with. So stay tuned, I'll crack this bad boy open, explain a little bit about the equipment that's in here, why I choose to carry it, and the actual pouches, because these are pretty cool little pouches. They're rustic looking, you know, they look the part for bushcraft. Where I get them from, how much they are, and we'll have a look around that, so stay with me. Okay, so let's open this little fella up and I'll have a look around the contents. I'll come back to that later. So first out, little torch, little LED torch. Nothing worse than trying to do your tasks in the dark, you know, but always check your preps, make sure your torches are in good working order and have good battery life. If not, carry a couple of snap lights as well. I'm a big advocate and a big fan of the snap lights, the chem lights. Anyway, so going in, I've got some of my charred jute netting. All of my equipment, you'll see, is stored in Ziploc bags. I have some cotton balls heavily dressed with Vaseline. Everybody knows this, simple fire lighting, but very effective. You know, when you're against it, you really need that fire to be reliable. Absolutely carry them, in my opinion. They're light, they squash down to next to nothing, they're easy to prepare, they're cheap, and each one of those cotton balls I could cut in half, and each one of those halves represents a fire. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, approximately 12 there, so 24 fires in that bag at least. This is a small non-locking folding knife, small pocket knife basically. I've kept it UK legal carry, so it's non-locking. The blade is less than 3 inches in length. It's a stainless blade. I would prefer high carbon steel, but it's a nice little thing. Packwood handles, you know, like a traditional folding knife, and this is great for gathering tinders, processing tinders, to include birch bark, fat wood, mushrooms, cutting cordage, making a bow drill set, a hand drill set, anything that you may need to do for firelighting, that is more than adequate. And with it having quite a sharp point, is good for using as an awl basically, you know, to bore holes or divots, which is nice. So that's why I've chose to put that in this kit as well. You should always have a form of cutting. It would be nice if I could include a saw into that. I may even add a small piece of coarse you know, hacksaw blade into this kit. So moving on, a bit of tinder. I've got some, what I've got in here, some birch bark, great tinder. Everybody knows the birch bark effectiveness for firelighting. I have in this bag fatwood starter splints, which I do sell on my eBay shop. They are only small, these. I've just made it kit size rather than the full length splinters that I do sell. And also in there you'll probably see some strips of rubber for wet or windy or humid firelighting conditions. You know, if you're somewhere tropical, then humidity is definitely an issue. Obviously over here in the UK it's not such a problem, but you know, there's nothing from stopping you or me carrying this kit anywhere and getting the fire lit in most conditions. So wet, windy, humid conditions, bit of rubber, bit of fat wood. We all know the benefits of carrying fat wood, medicinal and firelighting. So I've got some, again this is surefire in my opinion because it's non-natural tinder really, and this is, I've got a selection of my Mad Dog jewels and some of my fire wicks. These are offcuts from when I produce fire wicks that I sell on my eBay shop. So all the offcuts and seconds I keep myself because they're still usable, they're plenty good enough, and they do work, and I do carry them myself. So they're old stock of the Mad Dog jewels and seconds or offcuts of the fire wicks. Very good forms of fire lighting. I do trust them and I do carry them myself. That's why I do sell them on eBay. I won't sell or push anything you might say on my eBay shop that I haven't used or I would not carry myself, and that is the honest truth. So now we'll come to, I guess, you know, the nuts and bolts of it. Is I've got a small cheap ass, you know, sort of ferro rod there, 8x80mm with a striker, Chinese type of thing, with a bit of a paracord lanyard that I've added, 42-inch lanyard, which is enough cordage for a bow drill, bootlace, etc. I've got some stormproof, weatherproof matches in there. I have a Fresnel lens for solar ignition. I have a good quality, robust lighter. I should add another one because, you know, if one fails you've always got another. I also have some spare striker plate material for those matches, the stormproof matches. You only get a single strip on this box that you can just see there, hopefully. So I carry it's actually a trick, it's called Hellstorm or Devil's Finger, something like that. And it's a trick where if you light the stuff up, it's brown phosphorus on paper basically, so if you light it and onto a piece of tin foil and collect some of the oil and then rub it in your fingers, it will produce smoke like a magic trick. However, it is the same material that is used on the outside of safety matches boxes. I think I've shown that previously on other videos to include when I've made like a small match Vesta out of one of the cheap, you know, capsules that you can get from eBay and Amazon. So that's my go-to nuts and bolts, you know, get yourself out of a bad situation sort of surefire kit. And I've also got in here, let me come back to that, I have some char cloth and some charred jute netting. I do carry quite a bit of the charred material. In here I've got some jute twine, natural jute twine that I've just sort of dipped into paraffin wax, so that I've got basically a rough and ready firelighter that I can fluff up, catch a spark, and I could even use the you know, the wax by melting that to produce other things. So it's a multi-purpose bit of kit, but very good, very effective firelighter by itself. And then last but not least is this little fella, another one of my tins. I do have several of them, you know, the what they call Brasso Duraglit type of tins. Little tip here is, for me, is when you're making a fire kit, have the next fire mentality as part of it. So it's great having cotton balls, it's great having the Mad Dog jewels and the fire wicks, etc. But always have a way to continue on your sustainability. So for example, in here, I'm knocking this stuff about everywhere, which I'll come to in a minute. In here I've got some lamp wick that I've charred one end. I'll come back to that. A spare ferro rod with some duct tape, mini ferro rod, and I have some of my 100% cotton cloth which I can char. I've lubricated it with some gun oil, and inside of which I've got my homemade flint and iron kit, some quartz I believe in this case. You know, I've got several pieces, so I can make sparks quite easily with that. I've got 3 good pieces of reliable sharp edged quartz. Hopefully you can see the sparks there. So I can, you know, from that, with my charred material, I can produce an ember with my tinder, blow that to flame. So in the bottom of this tin I've got some more of my jute netting, which I can use as a bird's nest to blow said ember to flame, and then add my kindling, etc. However, this tin, because it has the small hole in the top, and it is only a small hole, it doesn't need to be much bigger than a nail hole. I have used this, as you can see, several times. I can then add into this other materials to char, and therefore my next fire will be able to be started with the kit that I have from that charred material. So what I'm trying to say is, once my carry material has been expended, my man-made firelighters, you know, my cotton buds, everything else has been used and gone, I can use this tin and then introduce things like, I've got on the side here some punk wood, nice soft squidgy punk wood, break pieces of that off, get it in the tin, into the fire that I've just made, char it, and then with my flint and iron I can establish an ember, blow it to flame, and then using the same tin again, find some other resource, like for example, you know, the horsehoof mushroom, the bracket mushroom, something along those lines, break it up, char it, and it will become effective firelighting, tinder firelighting material. So if you carry a tin, flint and iron, you have always got a way of, albeit old-fashioned and weather dependent, you've always got a way of that next fire mentality of carrying your fire with you indefinitely. Don't just rely on man-made firelighters, tinders, you know, whether it be something that you buy from eBay, from Mad Dog Survival or anybody else. I'm not going to name names, whether it be my fire biscuits, my Mad Dog jewels, the fire wicks, all the rest of it. They are very good effective firelighters, but don't rely on them solely. Always have that next fire mentality to be able to sustain your ability to light fire naturally from things around you, and that takes practice as well. So please, let me pan you up here a little ways, please go out and practice this. It's not just a skill that you can read about, you need to try it, you need to practice it. So this little fire kit, I'm going to put it all back together in a few minutes. I do recommend a survival go-to firelighting kit, as in absolute surefire. When you need to do it, let's not mess about with expending energy and methods that may work, may not work, all the rest of it, depending on the conditions, your skill level, etc. Let's have a fire because we need it, you know, let's not mess about. So always have that, in my opinion. So that's all going to go back into this little pouch, and the little pouch I believe is a Russian or Czech army canvas pouch. You can see there it's got a little leather riveted strap and a buckle. I've opened out the holes, quite thick leather there. I like these. I've got several of them for different kits, and I think these were about £5 off eBay, something like that. They are on eBay. The only thing is the belt loop goes linear rather than vertical, so what I've done is I've got some of my paracord and I've made a simple wrap, if that makes sense. A piece of 42-inch paracord which I've added a carabiner onto also, so I can loop that through my belt and wear it. Just let me pan it down here a little ways. I can wear that on my hip with that paracord as my belt loop now, and that's just right, you know. And I've also got the added security of a carabiner, which could be used for other things as well. So, do excuse me. Nice little patches. I've also got another one here just for demo, and inside of this one I have I use this as my ammunition pouch basically for steel ball bearings. I've got some 9.5mm steel ball bearings in there. Try and show you without pouring them out everywhere down there. And that goes obviously along with my catapult, my gadder, whatever you want to call it. You know, your dobber, catapult. So it's like it's a replica of the Black Widow, the old famous Garrett Black Widow. I think this is called the Black Shadow, made by Armex. Quite an effective piece of kit. I do recommend them for long-term survivability over in the UK, especially for hunting with a catapult. Very effective once you've practiced with it and become conversant with it. But however, again, with our ridiculous laws over in the UK, always use proper steel ammunition or marble or glass ammunition. Don't use stones or rocks, because you can actually be prosecuted and jailed for stoning under some old ancient law that you can't hunt with stones. It's classed as stoning, and crazy. In a survival situation, me personally, I take the risk and do it because I'm in a survival situation. However, if I'm hunting because I want to procure meat for a camp, whether it be squirrels, etc., then use the correct ammunition, you know, stay within the law. Anyway, I thought I'd show you all how I put together a fire kit and for the reasons why. I try and make a fire kit that is enjoyable while I'm camping or practicing bushcraft, but has the ability to become surefire if I become in a survival situation, and also has the ability to sustain itself, where it isn't just going to expire because I've used 12 of said man-made items and I'm now stuffed. I can always find resources naturally that will help and aid me in fire making going forward. Like the Fresnel lens, without banging on too much, you know, that's a free form of fire lighting. If you've got a good clear sunny day and the tinder is on point, absolutely use that first, you know, because it costs no resource. Anyways, hope this makes sense. This one basically is a bit of a response video to Plymouth fans regarding fire kits. For me personally, don't be afraid of carrying a big fire kit because it is very important. It's one of the 5 C's of survivability. Therefore, it should take at least a fifth of your resource when carrying, in my opinion. It doesn't need to be huge like rucksack sized, but I think a big comprehensive fire kit isn't to be sniffed at, it isn't to be dismissed. You know, I'd rather carry a heavy fire kit, which actually when all said and done isn't that heavy. It weighs next to nothing, but it's on the bulky side size wise. I would rather carry a decent fire kit than lots of gadgets and solar panels and electronic this, electronic that, and things that will eventually fail you. You know, old school, reliable and effective. That's me, that's just my opinion. Anyway, I hope you find some of this useful, if not entertaining, and I'll see you all soon, which won't be long as always. Take care, have a great weekend. Mad Dog signing off. Yeah!